Welcome to the deep dive. Have you ever received a compliment that just, like, didn't land at all?
Oh, yeah. I mean, we've all been there.
Right. You know the scenario. Someone tells you that you uh, knocked a presentation out of the park,
Ugh.
or that you're just this brilliant friend.
And instead of soaking it in, your brain instantly goes to work, dismantling it.
Exactly. You just brush it off. You assume they're, just being polite, and you walk away feeling absolutely nothing.
Or the flip side of that is you're completely gutted by something, so you vent to a friend,
Yeah.
and they give you their unconditional agreement. They take your side entirely.
Which is what you want.
Right. Well, you'd think so, but you still leave the conversation with this weird hollow ache in your chest. Like, the interaction didn't actually fix the problem.
Right. Because the external world is just a mirror, not a source.
That's a great way to put it.
Today, we are dissecting the mechanics of what's called the mirror principle. We're going to figure out why your brain's invisible bouncer keeps rejecting the exact validation you actually crave.
Yeah, and why getting people to agree with you rarely satisfies you.
And most importantly, how to fundamentally change your relationship with your own inner reality. Okay, let's unpack this because this material challenges basically everything we're taught about human connection.
It really does. It turns it all upside down.
I mean, we spend most of our lives obsessing over what other people think of us. But this text suggests we're asking the wrong question entirely.
We are totally the wrong question. The text shifts the focus from what people think of us to the underlying mechanics of why we desperately need them to think it.
Uh-huh.
It requires us to look at this really uncomfortable truth. If you do not have an internal foundation of worth, it literally does not matter how much praise or agreement the outside world gives you.
Wow. Okay.
The text conceptualizes this through this amazing metaphor of the bottomless cup.
Okay, let's break down the mechanics of that because, I mean, it sounds simple, but there's a serious psychological process happening there, isn't there?
Absolutely. It's rooted in what psychologists call an external locus of validation.
An external locus, meaning like outside of yourself.
Right. If you operate from this state, you implicitly believe that your sense of worth, or even just the reality of your own emotions, only becomes objectively real when another human being confirms it.
So if someone else doesn't see it, it doesn't exist.
Exactly. But here is the structural flaw. If you don't hold a baseline, internal belief that your feelings are valid, pouring external praise into your mind is, well, it's like pouring water into a cup with no bottom.
Oh, man, so it just falls right through.
The water passes straight through, you process the auditory words, you hear them, but the emotional resonance never accumulates into genuine self-trust.
Because there is literally nothing there to catch it.
Right.
You're just like waiting for the water to somehow build the bottom of the cup while it's falling.
Which is impossible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the text introduces another layer to this, which I found really fascinating. It's not just that the cup is empty.
No, it's worse.
We actually have an active defense mechanism preventing the water from staying in. It calls this the invisible veto.
Yes. The invisible veto.
To me, this felt like having a ridiculously strict, unyielding bouncer at the nightclub of your own mind.
Oh, that's a perfect analogy.
Right. Like a compliment walks up, it's holding a VIP pass. It's 100% genuine, and your internal bouncer just looks at it and says, nope, you're not on the list.
That's a highly accurate way to visualize it, but we have to look at why the bouncer is doing that.
Okay, why?
It comes down to cognitive dissonance. Your brain always wants your external reality to match your internal beliefs.
Oh, I see.
So if your internal belief is, I am not competent, and someone comes up and says, you are brilliant, those two realities conflict.
They clash.
Yeah. And your bouncer automatically steps in to resolve the tension by vetoing the incoming validation.
Wow. So you don't just passively fail to absorb the compliment.
No, your brain actively generates reasons to disqualify the person giving it.
Like telling yourself they don't know the whole story, or they just have low standards.
Or they're just trying to get something from you, right?
Yeah. So what does this all mean for our daily interactions? Are we secretly self-sabotaging the exact reassurance we're asking for?
What's fascinating here is that this isn't manipulation or like ingratitude on our part.
Yeah.
It's a totally automatic process.
Okay, so we are mechanically self-sabotaging.
Yeah, pretty much.
But the text goes a step further, and it talks about the repulsion effect. And this is where it gets a little uncomfortable.
It really does sting a bit.
Because it suggests we aren't just internally vetoing validation. We are actively driving it away in our social interactions.
Right. We are broadcasting our internal doubt, and people pick up on it.
Even if we don't realize we're doing it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The repulsion effect happens when you don't validate yourself first. Think about someone pitching an idea at work, right?
Okay.
But they end every sentence with an upward inflection, like it's a question.
Oh, yeah. Or they constantly add, like, if that makes sense.
Yes, they are unconsciously signaling to the room, I'm not sure this idea is real or valuable. And because human beings are highly attuned to social cues, the room acts as a mirror. They reflect that uncertainty right back by dismissing the idea.
Wow. So you present your feelings apologetically, which practically invites the other person to invalidate you.
You're handing them the instructions on how to treat you.
Okay, I have to stop and ask the obvious question here.
Yeah.
If we have this internal bouncer that violently rejects validation, and we're giving off behavioral cues that repel support, where does this machinery come from?
Right, because we aren't born doing this.
Exactly. We aren't born with a bouncer in our heads.
No, we aren't. We have to examine how our internal compass is constructed in the first place, specifically through what the text calls early relational templates.
Yep.
It argues that many of us suffer from epistemological wounds sustained in childhood.
Okay, let's translate that, because epistemological wound sounds like something you'd hear in a graduate philosophy seminar.
It does sound a bit heavy.
We're basically talking about the very compass you use to decide what is true.
Exactly. Epistemology is simply how we know what we know.
Got it.
So an epistemological wound means your fundamental method for determining reality has been compromised.
Like it's broken at the core.
Yeah. Imagine a child who falls down and is crying, and a parent repeatedly says, "You're fine, it doesn't hurt, stop being dramatic."
Oh, man.
Or a child who is angry and is told, "No, you're not, you're just tired."
Which happens all the time.
All the time. But over time, the child's brain registers a terrifying lesson. My internal physical and emotional sensations cannot be trusted.
Wow.
My reality is only real if an external authority confirms it.
So you just completely outsource the jurisdiction over your own mind.
Exactly.
You learn that your weather isn't real unless someone else reports on it.
That's a great way to think of it.
And the text points out that it isn't just our families doing this. Our broader culture weaponizes this against us, too.
Oh, absolutely.
It says society trains us to believe that prioritizing our own inner perspective is selfish, and that humility is essentially self-erasure.
Yes, the culture strongly reinforces the outsourced mind. It demands it, really.
I want to push back on this framing, though. I think the text might be walking a dangerous line here.
Okay, how so?
Well, we're constantly told to be humble, right? To be agreeable, to consider other people's feelings. If I suddenly decide that my internal reality is the only valid one, don't I just become an insufferable, selfish jerk?
That is the big fear.
Right. So how does the listener draw the line between just being a humble, agreeable person and what the text ominously calls self-erasure?
It's a vital distinction, and your skepticism is exactly why people avoid doing this internal work in the first place.
Because they don't want to be toxic.
Exactly. They confuse self-validation with narcissism, but the text fundamentally separates the two.
Okay, how?
Genuine humility requires you to actually have a grounded self to be humble about.
Oh,
You can only be cooperative if you know where your boundaries are. Self-erasure, on the other hand, is outsourcing the authority over your inner world entirely to others.
so it's like saying, I have no center of gravity until you tell me where to stand.
Exactly. True humility allows you to say, I see this differently than you, and I might be wrong, but this is my current reality.
Right.
Whereas self-erasure says, tell me what I should be feeling so I can be acceptable to you.
Wow. So self-erasure isn't being nice. It's making other people responsible for writing your reality.
Yes. Which is actually a huge burden on them.
Which brings us to the actual solution. If the cup is bottomless
Yeah.
and childhood and culture knock the bottom out, how do we rebuild it?
We have to completely correct our definition of self-validation.
Because we usually define it wrong.
Way wrong. Self-validation is not claiming that you are infallible or that your feelings excuse bad behavior.
Okay.
It is simply the act of acknowledging your emotional experience as real and legitimate simply because it exists, not because it's a perfectly rational response.
Regardless of whether it's rational. Because, I mean, emotions aren't rational.
Precisely. The text draws a hard boundary between emotional validation and intellectual agreement.
What's the difference there?
Emotional validation is recognizing that a feeling belongs to you. Like, I am feeling intense jealousy right now.
Right.
Intellectual agreement is recognizing your perceptions have merit and deciding whether they should dictate your actions.
Oh, I see.
You don't have to intellectually agree with your jealousy to validate that you are, in fact, experiencing it. You aren't claiming infallibility.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting to me. It's like being the weather reporter of your own brain.
Ah, I love that.
Right. If you're the weather reporter, your only job is to report that it's raining. You're acknowledging that you feel hurt or angry or exhausted.
Just reading the radar.
Exactly. You aren't claiming that the rain is morally right or wrong, or that the rain gives you permission to scream at your coworkers,
Right.
or even that the rain will last forever. You are just acknowledging the baseline reality.
Mm.
It is currently raining.
And mechanistically, acting as that weather reporter does something profound to your nervous system. Yeah. When you simply observe and name the emotion, when you say, it is raining, you are engaging your prefrontal cortex.
Oh, the logic center.
Yes. You are stepping out of the amygdala hijack, out of the pure reactivity, and shifting into observation.
Wow.
And until you intellectually agree that your perspective, your weather report, is worth considering, no one else's agreement will ever satisfy you.
That makes so much sense. Because if you refuse to believe it's raining, someone offering you an umbrella just feels confusing and manipulative.
Exactly.
But, okay, theory is great until you're actually in the middle of a storm.
Oh, of course.
Like, if I'm staring at a cryptic text from my boss that just says, "Can we chat later?" My nervous system doesn't care about the prefrontal cortex. I feel the panic
An
immediately.
instant spike of dread, yeah.
How does this text suggest we actually apply this practice in the heat of an emotional moment?
The crucial first step, and this is a non-negotiable, is what the author calls witnessing your own experience.
Witnessing it.
It is the pause before you fire off a response, and crucially, before you reach for the phone to type a message to anyone else.
Yeah.
You have to ask yourself, what do I actually feel or think about this before I hear what anyone else says?
Man, that is so deeply counter to our modern reflexes. My immediate instinct, and I know I'm not alone in this, is to take a screenshot of that boss's text and immediately drop it into a group chat with 3 friends.
Oh, the emergency group chat. We all have it.
Right. What does this mean? Am I crazy to be freaking out? We are constantly crowdsourcing our emotional regulation.
This raises an important question, though, about how we use technology to avoid self-acquaintance.
Okay, say more about that.
The moment the anxiety hits, the external locus of validation demands we find someone else to tell us what reality is.
Because we don't trust our own compass.
Exactly. But the text argues that instead of outsourcing our reaction to the group chat, we need to sit with it in solitude.
But sitting alone with that panic sounds awful. If I don't go to the group chat, how do I practice this pause without just spiraling in my own head for an hour?
Well, the material is very careful to differentiate between lonely spiraling and deliberate, curious self-inquiry.
Okay, what's the difference?
Spiraling is driven by the inner critic's invalidating language. It sounds like, I'm definitely getting fired. I'm so stupid for making that mistake. Why am I so anxious? I need to get over this.
Yeah, that just accelerates the heart rate.
It does. Deliberate self-inquiry, however, uses the language of inner acknowledgement.
Which sounds like what?
It sounds like, I am feeling terrified right now. My chest is tight. That makes sense, given how vague this text is. My feelings are real.
Oh, wow. The shift in tone there is massive.
It's completely different.
It entirely removes the secondary panic. You're no longer panicking about the fact that you're panicking.
Yeah.
You're just observing it.
Yes. You're getting acquainted with yourself.
Yeah.
And you cannot validate what you do not know.
So you have to spend time with it.
Exactly. The text emphasizes the necessity of solitude and self-inquiry. Journaling, breathwork, meditation. The goal is self-acquaintance.
And what happens when we do that? The text argues that once we start doing this internal work, our external relationships shift in ways that seem almost magical.
But they're actually just pure mechanics.
It brings up something called the paradox of seeking agreement.
Which is one of the most confronting ideas in the material.
Yeah.
The paradox is this. Desperation signals insecurity, and insecurity generally invites one of 2 reactions from others, pity or dismissal.
Neither of which feels good.
No, neither is true validation. But when you don't need agreement to feel okay, you paradoxically become much easier to agree with.
Right, because you're not backing the other person into an emotional corner. You aren't desperately asking them to manage your emotional state.
Exactly. You've removed the threat from the interaction, When you are self-validated, authentic disagreement finally becomes possible. Because you can hear a dissenting view without being devastated. You can sit across from someone and say, I see this differently, without collapsing into self-doubt or attacking them.
I hear that, but it almost sounds too detached. Like, this doesn't mean we don't need others, does it?
Not at all. And the author addresses that explicitly. There is a massive difference between seeking connection and seeking substitution.
Okay, let's break down the difference there. Connection versus substitution.
Seeking connection is sharing your established truth. It's walking up to a friend and saying, here is where I am standing, and it is raining on me.
Got it.
Seeking substitution is demanding that others create your truth for you. It's asking others to build the bottom of your cup.
Which they literally can't do.
Right. Substitution exhausts people. Connection nourishes them.
If you don't desperately need to be right just to feel emotionally secure, you can actually afford to be open to being wrong.
Exactly.
I love that. It makes you bulletproof in a really gentle way.
That's a beautiful way to phrase it. A gentle bulletproofing. And it brings us back to the overarching mirror principle.
Right, the core concept.
When you look into the mirror of the world, having first met your own eyes, honestly, the reflection changes.
Because you finally brought a self to reflect.
Exactly. The cup finally has a bottom. And by the way, this is why self-validation is actually the antidote to narcissism.
Oh, wait, really?
Yeah. Narcissists are deeply destabilized internally. They need constant admiration because they have no bottom in their cup.
Wow.
A self-validated person doesn't need that. They can actually make room for others.
Man, we've covered some seriously dense, transformative ground today.
We really have.
We started by looking at why compliments fall straight through the bottomless cup and how our inner bouncer vetoes the validation we crave.
Yep. The invisible veto.
We traced those epistemological wounds back to their source and unpacked how pausing to be the weather reporter of our own minds allows us to finally show up authentically.
From substitution to connection.
Exactly. As we wrap this up, what is the final piece of the puzzle for us to chew on? What's the lingering thread here?
Well, if we accept the premise that the world is a mirror that reflects our internal relationship with ourselves,
Yeah.
what happens when we intentionally try to act as a healing mirror for the people in our lives?
Yeah.
Can we reflect back the invisible, unvalidated parts of our friends and partners to help them build the bottom of their own cup?
Or does trying to validate someone who hasn't validated themselves just trap us in their cycle?
Exactly. Are we helping them, or are we just pouring our energy into their bottomless cup?
That is the ultimate tightrope of any deep relationship, isn't it? That is a profound question to take into your interactions this week.
It's definitely something to think about.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Before you open your inbox or text the group chat or press play on whatever comes next, I challenge you to take 60 seconds of quiet self-acquaintance. Check the weather report in your own mind. Acknowledge the rain.